What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Casual Wrestling Community Show, the #1 rated wrestling podcast for casual wrestling fans. I am NerdyD, you are the casual wrestling community, and we have a lot to discuss this week. Is Edge really retired? How injured is Seth Rollins back? And the top 3 opponents for John Cena in his return. But first, here is the most pressing question we need to discuss as a community this week. So here's the first topic. It's a question that's on everybody's minds right now, and it's a debate that's causing shockwaves from living rooms to locker rooms, and that is, has Rhea Ripley outgrown the women's division, and is it time for her to start facing off against men? Now, the world of pro wrestling has seen its fair share of dominant women, and Rhea Ripley, well, she's making waves and causing ripples that echo the impact of legends like Chyna. Both are giants in their own right, but as much as we'd love an easy comparison, it's not quite so black and white. Hall of Famer DDP may believe that Rhea Ripley can beat male superstars convincingly, but is that the right move for her? Is that the right move for WWE? See, I've always been kind of a wrestling purist. Men wrestle men, women wrestle women. Natural physical differences and all that jazz. I get it. It's old school, but that's my mentality. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about wrestling. Wrestling's scripted. It's stories of underdogs, villains, and heroes. And if any platform can challenge the norms, it's pro wrestling, right? Chyna's already done it, but comparing her to Rhea Ripley, it's like comparing a sledgehammer to a precision scalpel. Both are powerful, but they're powerful in distinctively different ways. Rhea has an edge that Chyna just never had. And maybe that's from advanced training or just better mic skills or more charisma. But that's not the point. The point is, can Rhea Ripley convincingly take on a man one-on-one in a pro wrestling ring? Now, let's address the giant in the room, the women's division. As talented as it is coming up short for Rhea Ripley. And it's not just about skill, but it's about believability. Each match seems like a foregone conclusion when Rhea Ripley steps in the ring. When she faces off against legends, even like Becky Lynch or Bayley, Liv Morgan, Sonya Deville, it doesn't feel like an epic clash. It feels predictable. And that's not the fault of Rhea Ripley. She's just a titan. And like any titan, she needs worthy adversaries. So what are the options, right? They're limited. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, maybe Raquel Rodriguez. But beyond that, it's slim pickings. And for a champion like Rhea Ripley, that's a travesty. So where does that leave us? Should we open the doors and let Rhea unleash against the men? Not so fast. Wrestling is about stories. It's about emotions. It's about moments. And putting Rhea Ripley versus the men, that becomes a little bit of a spectacle, a rare eclipse, something you don't want to miss. But it needs to remain that. It needs to remain special and rare and not something that we see on a regular basis. If WWE is smart, they would tread carefully here. They would use Rhea's undeniable talent to craft epic tales and ensure it doesn't turn into some kind of gimmick where she's just beating up on men all the time. If done right, this could redefine the boundaries and create a new wrestling history. But if done wrong, it could sideline one of the most exceptional talents we've seen in years. There is the possibility of creating just a bad gimmick for Rhea Ripley. And so to sum it up, Rhea Ripley deserves more, and I think we do as fans as well. And whether that means that we have to start introducing some intergender matches or shaking up the women's division or just finding women's wrestlers that are more believable in the ring with Rhea Ripley, WWE has to step up. So tell me, where do you stand on this topic? Should Rhea Ripley face off against men, or should we keep things the way they are? I'm all ears. So let's discuss another topic that's lighting up the rumor mill right now. And that is Edge's potential retirement from WWE and the whispers, the IWC saying that he's going to pop up at AEW at some point. Let me know, guys. Are you buying this? Are you selling this? Let's dive into it, right? First off, when we talk about Edge, We're talking about the rated R superstar. We're talking about the legend. It doesn't feel right that the last hurrah in WWE would be a 1 week buildup against Sheamus on just a random SmackDown in August. Edge deserves better than that. Edge deserves the grandeur of a Kobe Bryant-esque retirement tour. Edge deserves more than a week's buildup for a match against Sheamus. Edge's departure has to be monumental, has to be something that leaves us, teary-eyed, right? And proud of his iconic career. And speaking of monumental, when Edge says goodbye, there's only one place that can be. Like, we know that, right? Everybody's in agreement. Tell me you can't envision Edge, center of the ring, a sold-out crowd in Philadelphia, 90,000 people on their feet chanting, "Thank you, Edge. Thank you, Edge." That atmosphere is electric. His legacy intact. There's no way he doesn't deserve to have that kind of send-off. And there's no way that he doesn't have another 3-month run left in him that leads us straight into WrestleMania. But let's play devil's advocate. Let's entertain the idea. Edge going to AEW. It sounds absolutely wild to me. But this is wrestling. It's an unpredictable landscape, right? Anything is possible. Remember when CM Punk said he would never wrestle again? Then he joined AEW. That was a seismic shift in the world of wrestling. So now imagine Edge pulls a similar move, right? I think this ranks as AEW's second biggest acquisition. I honestly believe that. Maybe outside of CM Punk, this is the second biggest acquisition that AEW has ever grabbed. I think it overshadows big names like Chris Jericho, Miro. I think it's bigger than Adam Cole. But then again, like wrestling, like I always say, it's much more about the story than it is about the X's and O's. And Edge, he comes packaged with a compelling story, right? If Edge were to jump companies, the obvious showdown that we all want, that we're all looking for, is Edge versus Christian. Does AEW know how to promote a nostalgia act on that level? But here's my concern. Would AEW try to recreate a classic matchup with like the Hardy Boys? Throw Matt and Jeff into the mix? I mean, something like that probably sounds good on paper to Tony Khan, but in reality, we might just be setting ourselves up for disappointment. These legends all have limits now. They're all in their 40s and 50s. And some of these memories are just best left untouched. We don't need another TLC match between Edge, Christian, and the Hardys. Let that live where it lives. But there are whispers. There are whispers going around right now that Christian's AEW contract is winding down in March. So I guess one could dream of a reunion at WrestleMania 40. This seems like a high possibility, and WWE could even capitalize on inducting Edge and Christian into the Hall of Fame as a tag team in Philadelphia. That would make sense, right? Home of hardcore. Edge and Christian, the kings of the TLC match, tag team match. That makes sense. Christian deserves to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, and if he has to go in as a tag team, so be it. That's fine. But let's take a step back. Maybe, just maybe, Edge's non-committal attitude on the Wrestling Observer podcast, where he was non-committal to finishing his career in WWE, you guys don't think that's just a shrewd negotiating tactic? Like, he's a savvy veteran. He knows how to get more money. By playing his cards close to his chest, he's keeping everybody talking. He keeps everybody guessing. He keeps the WWE guessing. And he potentially gets a better deal when he renegotiates. And honestly, the idea of Edge burning bridges with WWE after so many years, right at the tail end of his illustrious career, that seems absolutely outlandish to me. So here's where I stand. Edge is WWE through and through. That's not going to change. I don't think a short stint in AEW sounds that enticing to Edge. It might sound enticing to the IWC, but I don't think Edge will fall for that trick. Edge belongs on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania 40, Edge and Christian tag teaming in a TLC match versus the heel Street Profits. Go ahead and book that. All right, so it's time for a new segment I'm calling the Love-Hate Relationship with WWE, where I talk about all of the things that I loved and hated the most from Raw and SmackDown this past week. Let's start off with Monday Night Raw. What I loved this week was Gunther and Chad Gable. Gunther is sneakily becoming my most trusted wrestler for matches that I know I'm going to enjoy. Every time I see Gunther on TV, I don't know what it is, because it's not personality, but just something about the matches he puts on and the way he tells story, I rather enjoy it. And I think the finish on this one was fun. I don't love that Gable was excited about a DQ finish, but I think the finish was a good choice. It was fun. This actually leads me to believe at this point that Chad Gable is the one who's going to dethrone Gunther after he breaks the Honky Tonk Man's record. The only thing I'm asking WWE is please bring the Honky Tonk Man on television next week so that we can get Gunther just chopping him into pieces. What did I hate on Raw this week? I hate that we got the same main event for like the 15th week in a row. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, Triple H. There has to be something else that you can put in that main event spot besides the Judgment Day versus some variation of Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. It's the same shit over and over and over. You're just switching up the three members of the other team, and trust me, I'm not the only person saying this. That is getting old. Raw has been too good these last couple weeks to be plagued by bad main events. This is where you should have it on lock, Triple H, and instead you're struggling to put together, cohesive main events. Hey man, you got a guy named LA Knight who I'm pretty sure is capable of main eventing any Monday Night Raw you need him for. Just go ahead and book that. What did I love on SmackDown this week? I love that Edge got to have another big moment in his career. It was a great day and a great way to finish up his Canadian chapter of his career, right? Now he can focus on this final run that I know is coming, this final run to the show of shows. And I think that, I think the moment that he and Sheamus shared in the back, that was cool. It was cool to see. I think that, Edge and Sheamus share a lot of respect for each other, but that's not the end. That wasn't the end. I think Edge has one more solid 3-month run left in him that'll lead to him tagging up with Christian at Mania. I'd like to see him get involved with Bobby Lashley, maybe around Royal Rumble, and have that lead into a tag opportunity with the Street Profits at WrestleMania. You can book that. What did I hate about SmackDown this week? Speaking of Street Profits, I absolutely hated that the Street Profits looked exactly like the same old Street Profits, and they acted like the same old Street Profits. We've spent the last 3 or 4 weeks putting these guys in suits and trying to convince us that this is a new team or this is a new version of the team, and then they come out and wrestle, and they're still smiling, they're still kind of joking around, and they're still in the same ring gear. They're not wearing suits anymore. And the only difference is that after they win, Bobby Lashley comes out and puts his arms around them and smiles with them. Put the suits back on, guys. Montez, stop smiling. There's been no real payoff to this tease that we've gotten the last 3 or 4 weeks. What is Bobby Lashley offering the Street Profits that they didn't already have? I mean, I honestly think they have less success with Bobby Lashley than they had just on their own. I think this story needs to heat up pretty quickly and go somewhere, because it's always starting to feel like Bobby Lashley is a bridesmaid, never the bride. It always feels like he's just a background character getting ready to do something, and it never actually pans out. So I have a serious question for you guys. I have a serious question for the casual wrestling community. Is it time for Seth Rollins to take a step back and let the king of strong style take center stage? Picture this. Seth Rollins, our ever-present, larger-than-life world heavyweight champion, possibly needs a breather, while Nakamura, with renewed vigor, steps up and claims his throne. It's almost poetic, isn't it? But this is where it gets spicy. Let's be frank for a second. Rollins has been the backbone of WWE for a considerable stretch. His storylines, his in-ring performances, they've been nothing short of captivating. I've gotten a little down on him, but when you actually look at, the last 2 years of Seth Rollins, the dude's been the guy. But everyone, no matter how great you are, needs time to recharge. And Seth Rollins hasn't really had that moment to just step back, reassess his character, kind of take a bigger view of what's going on, and maybe reinvent himself. The looming shadow of a potential hiatus or injury might just be the universe's way of telling Seth Rollins, hey, maybe it's time to take some time off and re-strategize. So enter Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, those of you who have followed his journey from New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're the guys who know what Shinsuke can bring. I haven't watched him that long. And for a while, I've heard from people that WWE messed up the plot with him. But these recent events, this subtle character change, those tantalizing cinematic moments, I feel it. You feel it. We're seeing a new Nakamura, or maybe it's the old Nakamura, but it's a Nakamura that's been demanded by the fans for a long time. The landscape suggests a poetic transition. Rollins steps back, Nakamura slides in, seizing the moment. But here's my rub with it. WWE has a golden goose right now with this potential feud. Rollins, Nakamura, it's not just a filler feud. This is the stuff that main event WrestleMania magic is made of. Why was this not main eventing Monday Night Raw this past week? But here's the problem. I think WWE's merely using this as a transition phase. You know, when perhaps there's a more magnificent play at hand. And while many might claim that Nakamura's resurgence came out of left field, it's a much needed change of pace. This could be his magnum opus, a defining moment, but only if WWE plays its cards right. So I turn the question to you, CWC, Rollins and Nakamura. A fleeting spectacle or the dawn of a new era? Sound off. Let me know. Let your voices be heard. This is a conversation that's only just begun. So we have to talk about the man who needs no introduction, right? The leader of the C Nation, the face that once ran the place, the GOAT of WWE, John Cena. Now, it's always heartening, it's always electric when Cena decides to grace us with his presence on WWE television. It brings a touch of nostalgia, a touch of excitement, but I'm curious, is this just a side effect from the Hollywood strike? Is this Cena finding something to do until Hollywood wants him back? Or is Cena back to leave his mark? SmackDown has been, dare I say, a little bit boring lately. It's lacking that spark, that personality. And I ask you guys, is Cena the answer? I put together my top 3 programs that I would think would benefit John Cena and the WWE the most when he makes his return at the what's it called? India Superstar Showcase. First off, let's talk about John Cena versus Gunther. That's a showdown, man. It's not about the Intercontinental title. It's about legacy. Cena, for all the accolades that he has, for all his world championships, he has never secured this particular piece of gold. So this matchup makes sense, especially once Gunther breaks that record. See, Cena could achieve a Grand Slam champion status, adding yet another feather to an already glittering cap. Or, hear me out, Gunther could be the mountain that Cena can't summit. Those promos would be gold. Cena's desire for that one accolade that's eluded him with Gunther, the dominating champ standing in his path, intriguing, you bet. But then there's Grayson Waller. There's the Grayson Waller angle. Now to me, this feels the most predictable. This is the safe choice. A match where Cena can triumph, and it wouldn't dent Waller's image. You know, Waller's been in this circus before, playing the I lost to a legend card, calling it the Grayson Waller rub. But to me, this feud lacks depth. Sure, there's history, there's a story arc that's already started, but it's the kind of match that just makes for a pleasant viewing in India. It's a crowd pleaser, but in the long run, it's just a blip on the radar for both superstars. But then, now, let's talk about the dream scenario. Let's talk about Cody Rhodes. Cody's on a redemption arc. This man has shown that he's not just about flash, but he's about substance. Beating Brock Lesnar and getting the nod of respect, that's a big move. But beating John Cena, that's a statement. And it's the kind of victory that gives him serious momentum, propelling him into the main event picture. Beating Cena, shaking his hand in the middle of the ring, that's the kind of blessing Cody Rhodes needs on his road to WrestleMania and on the road to dethroning Roman Reigns. So let's wrap it up. I can't help but wonder, is Cena back for a reason? Is he back to be part of a program that matters? Or is this just a short-lived run? Is he just back while Hollywood's on hiatus? I'm curious, cautiously optimistic, but skeptical. Because in the end, with Cena, the possibilities are always vast. One thing's for sure, one of these matchups will be the path that WWE chooses, but until then, I guess we just have to watch, wait, and anticipate. So as always, it's time for the main event. This is a 5-minute speed round, no holds barred, all questions answered. You can submit any question to put me on the spot at questions@casualwrestling.com or in the Casual Wrestling Community Discord. All right, 5 minutes on the clock. Let's go now. Would you be mad if WWE had Roman Reigns pass Bruno Sammartino as the longest WWE champion of all time? Yeah, definitely. Of course I would. That's 5 years from now. And I know, deep down inside, I know this is what Vince McMahon wants. He is sitting in his office trying to sketch out how to make this happen. But I don't want it. 5 years is too long. That's too much Roman Reigns as champion. If that is the case, if we're actually even considering that, we have to make another world title and just pretend like the one that Roman has is important enough that we all show up and we clap and cheer when Roman decides to defend it. But I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Roman at 43 years old with the same gimmick. It's not realistic. It's not realistic for a modern day wrestler to hold a belt for 7 years. No. What is your favorite current finisher in pro wrestling? I think we did this on the Casual Power 10, but I'll drop in and talk about this anyway. I still think the Stone Cold Stunner is the cleanest finish in all of wrestling. And I will say that even though I think Kevin Owens is not as superior as Stone Cold's was, I still like it, and it's still probably my favorite finisher in WWE right now. I think that the F5 is always impactful. The Samoan Spike is memorable. Roman Spear is one of the better spears I've seen, but I'm going to go with Stone Cold Stunner, or I guess the KO Stunner is what I'm going to call it. Who is your pro wrestling crush? Bianca Belair. Always has been, always will be. That's a simple answer. What do you think of the All-In card, and are you going to watch it? I am going to watch it, even though I don't think the card is really meant for a casual fan like myself. There's a couple of matches that intrigue me. I'm down for the Adam Cole and MJF. I am interested in the women's title. I'd like to see Saraya win the title in the United Kingdom. That's one of those big kind of meaningful wrestling moments that I think will be remembered for a while. The Golden Elite do nothing for me. The Bullet Club do nothing for me. I am a Jericho fan, but I'm indifferent about Will Ospreay. Maybe this match changes my mind. I've never watched a full Will Ospreay match, so this will be a first for me. In the Blackpool Combat Club, they're boring to me, so not a lot on the card for me. I guess I am excited for CM Punk and Samoa Joe. I don't know if that's been officially announced or not yet, but yeah, a couple matches I'm excited for, but I am going to watch. Maybe we'll see if it changes my mind. If you could bring one superstar back to WWE from AEW, who would it be? Let's omit CM Punk, because I'm about to explain in the last topic why I think he's coming back to WWE. It feels like the odds are that Christian comes back, so I'm not going to say Christian. I'm going to jump to left field here and say Buddy Murphy, because a Buddy Murphy Dom feud would probably be comedy gold. Did a video on this earlier, but this is the question. Did you see Cora Jade's Instagram post? All I'm going to say is I'm a married man, so I will plead the fifth on this topic. Is Trish Stratus hurting her legacy in this feud with Becky Lynch? I don't think it helps. I don't think it's helping the argument for Trish being the GOAT of pro wrestling. I think that it has even made my eyes wander over to maybe Charlotte a little bit more. I think that that's a fun conversation to have. I think maybe next week I'll do a topic trying to lay out who is the GOAT of women's wrestling. What is your biggest critique of Triple H right now? It's lack of story progression. It's holding patterns. It's no real cliffhangers, repetitive main events, backloading larger premium live events, no character development. WWE feels a little bit stagnant right now. It feels like all of the stories are in holding, and I feel like Triple H is a little bit guilty of just trying to prep for those big events and make those big events feel special. Who is a wrestler that you just never, ever liked? Riddle. I'd say Riddle. I don't know, and it's a multitude of things. It's the painted nails, the not wearing shoes, the D-bag shit he does outside of the ring, and the way people come to his defense. I guess, people always are like, just let him live, just let him be who he is. I've just never been a real fan. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is with Riddle. Just something about him. I don't trust a man who doesn't wear shoes. Maybe that's the thing. So as the wrestling world turns its gaze towards the enigma that is CM Punk and his current standing in AEW, my own feelings kind of flip-flop between disappointment and frustration. Because let's call it what it is. AEW has dropped the ball with CM Punk. Now I'll be the first to say it. The lack of initiative from Tony Khan has been exasperating. Wrestling is a business, and it's about passion, storytelling, and capitalizing on monumental moments. It's a blend of athleticism, but it's also a soap opera. And right now, AEW is completely dropping the ball, especially when it comes to utilizing CM Punk. Now take Kenny Omega and the Elite, for instance. Here we have a potential feud that would set the wrestling community on fire. A feud that could go down in the wrestling history books as one of the greatest feuds of all time. Yet, there is this glaring hesitation to put Punk at the forefront, possibly stemming from the Elite's own insecurities. The Elite have a fear of being overshadowed. To them, they're just not okay being the B side of a card. And in wrestling, it's not about the A side or the B side. It's really just about creating those special moments in the squared circle. And while I'm on the topic, let's talk about AEW's odd decision to relegate Punk to what we'll affectionately term the Island of Misfits AEW Collision. Like him or hate him, CM Punk is an icon. You can't just put him on a show against Samoa Joe week in and week out and expect the audience to continue tuning in and yearn for more. Punk is doomed. This is reality. Looking ahead at the schedule for AEW Collision, you're up against UFC pay-per-views. You're up against WWE premium live events. And don't even get me started about when college football gets going. Collision's dead. But here's where things could take an interesting turn. I believe that all of this nonsense that's happening in AEW, this is all driving a potential CM Punk return to WWE. I can't help but be optimistic. Imagine the prodigal son returning home, older, wiser, with a rejuvenated passion. Picture the dream matches we could have. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. CM Punk versus LA Knight. These narratives would write themselves. CM Punk's previous departure from WWE and his current standing in AEW, they're two different tales. Each has its own set of nuances. While his WWE exit was more hinged with rebellious pride, the AEW journey feels more like a man that was trying to find his place inside of a company that's just a clusterfuck. WWE, for all its corporate maneuverings, provides infrastructure. It provides a structure, something that I think CM Punk as a matured adult might come to appreciate. While AEW, on the other hand, the IWC wants to label it groundbreaking, often feels rudderless, held hostage to the whims of just a few superstars a la the Elite. Wrestling isn't just about high-flying moves or promos. It's about moments that resonate, Moments that remain etched in our memories. AEW had the chance to create those moments with CM Punk. They just chose not to do it. And now they risk losing one of the biggest superstars in professional wrestling. I believe that sometime in the next 2 years, AEW will get rid of CM Punk and CM Punk will show up in a WWE ring. All right, so it's time for another new segment. I'm calling this segment How I Would Have Booked It. I'm going to take one moment from this past week and tell you guys how I would have booked this story differently. So let's start off. I want to talk about Raw's main event this week. I think WWE is missing out on this JD McDonough situation. I think that the more fun main event would have been that in the midst of all these backstage arguments the Judgment Day was having, if Damian Priest would have stormed off, left the arena, said, I need to go blow off some steam. And Dom and Rhea told Finn, hey, we're gonna go find Damian. You hold down the fort here. We'll be back before the match starts. Now, Finn, being left stranded alone, entering into a match against KO and Sammy, would walk out to the ring by himself, would stand face to face with KO and Sammy, then cue JD's music. I think it would have been fun to see JD and Finn tag together as Damian, Rhea, and Dom return back to the arena. Upset by what they see and confused by Finn and JD gaining a victory over the tag team champions, leaving Judgment Day with a big decision going into Payback. Judgment Day would be given a tag team title opportunity, ultimately leading to Rhea Ripley sending Finn Balor and Damian Priest out to take on KO and Sami Zayn at Payback. They would lose the match, causing Finn Balor to question if Judgment Day is the right place for him. But in the midst of all that turmoil, Damian is the one who gets upset, leaves the Judgment Day. Finn then convinces Rhea and Dom that JD is a good fit for Judgment Day, and JD and Finn go on to win the tag team titles at whatever the next premium live event is. That's the way I would have booked it. All right, so what did we learn this week, guys? I learned that Chad Gable is a credible threat to Gunther's title. I learned that it's not easy to GTS Samoa Joe when you're 40-something years old. I learned that Jericho is using All In as his personal concert. And I learned that even when I can't understand what wrestlers are saying on Monday Night Raw and they're speaking in their native language, it still sounds cool as fuck. That is it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the Casual Hot Take show that's dropping daily on the YouTube channel. The Champ and the Chick will post later this week. Keep hitting that like button. You guys are the gas on the fire that grows the channel. Tell your friends to tell a friend. Spam the casual community every chance you get. And I'll leave you guys with this week's Power 10. I'm tapping out.